Welcome to the Service MVP podcast, and my name is Joe Crisara. And today we have a very special guest. She is an author and a speaker, and somebody who is very influential in the trades and believes in the service trades. Her name is Kelly Resendez, and she is an executive vice president of growth at GoodLeap, which you all know, who does probably the best financing, not probably, the best financing in the entire country. I call it a VIP financing services for consumers to help contractors give people the gift of affordability. She's also the co-owner of GoBundance Women's Group, which is the mastermind of high achieving business owners. Kelly, welcome to our show today.
Hi, Joe. So
Hi.
excited to chat with you today.
Right. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Through the time I've gotten to know you, definitely you have a lot of insights that go beyond the normal job you do, and you're kind of a renaissance person. You've got a lot of different, you're a lot of different levels you work in this industry, and so I thought it would be very important that today we're going to talk about the three things that business owners do to sabotage their business. You've been involved within that high-level mastermind group for women, and of course, just for all people, truthfully, you've been very, very successful and influential in our relationship. We definitely appreciate that. Kelly, why don't you go over a little bit about how you got to where you're at and
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about you first.
absolutely. So, I started in the mortgage industry at a very young age. And to be honest with you, when you really look at, sales and building business or whatnot, everything kind of comes back to, who you're being, which directly affects the amount of success that you have. So, I'll be honest, I probably started in the trades when I was 4. My parents owned a heating and air conditioning company. And so I got to watch my mom, who was really instrumental in that business, in working with my dad over a long period of time. And so it really did give me a foundation for a few things that set me up to achieve maximum success. My parents were super hard workers, and they never I would tell you, they never really stopped though. So there was a lot of great advantages of growing up in an atmosphere like that. And then there were things that I've had to overcome later on in life. So quickly, when I got into the mortgage industry, I became one of the top 1% loan officers in the nation. And I will tell you what differentiated me in my business that I've brought with me in my entire career is that I created a system for success. It wasn't dabbling and doing certain things. Anything that we did in our business, I really systemized. And that's some of the same principles that I speak to today. So I, had a long career in mortgage until I came over here. I've been with GoodLeap for 13 years now. So I've watched us, go from being a mortgage and solar company to just a mortgage company to now being, one of the leading companies out in the finance world in the green energy home improvement space. So it's been a fun journey, but what I'll tell you is that some of the lessons that I've learned along that way are things that we all need to remember. And I think that, it'll be a great conversation today, just because I know so many business owners that are listening, or even salespeople that are listening, probably feel a little burnt out at times, that it becomes kind of Groundhog's Day of doing the same things, facing the same challenges. And there's some things that I hope to share with you that are going to really create some maximum success for them.
Dysfunction loves routine, I would say. And definitely, like even when we just released our book, and we just mentioned you got it in the mail today
Ah,
about
I
the
love it.
and
Look at
it goes,
that.
most of the book is about my dysfunction. About, if you read that book, you're like, man, Joe was actually a pretty crappy salesperson at some point, because it's like, and what gives me, I didn't realize this about you. I didn't know that your family was in this business too, and so
Mhm.
that to me, tell me how important, like the subject of this meeting is about the three things that people do to sabotage their business. Obviously, you must have had to witness that, like I've
Yes.
witnessed my own
Yes.
sabotaging my own sales calls. That's why I eventually became good at it, because like if you don't, I think knowing what the wrong way is just as important as knowing the right way, right? Tell us about how that growing up in that environment of watching your parents grind it out like that, and sometimes doing it right, and sometimes running into those difficulties and challenges. And then how instrumental was that to your when you finally get into that financing world? How do those two things relate? How did you draw the string between those two things?
Yeah. Great question, Joe. So I'll be honest with you. I had to see the worst of it. So my mom definitely was somebody that was always grinding. She was up at 5. She barely slept at night. She really sacrificed self-care for the business. And at 57, my mom got dementia.
Mm,
And this was in 2002, and we had to sell everything. She had also created a large real estate portfolio, and I love my dad. He could fix anything, but he couldn't run a business. And so
mm,
we had to end up selling, the building that the business was in. And I watched my parents just fold a business that he had been working in for 20 years because of a
mm.
health challenge, right? And that's one of the big reasons why I love speaking to business owners today, because there's probably people out there that are listening that don't realize how much value they have in their business if they systemize it. There's a big difference between those blue sky businesses where it's like, well, I'm successful, but I can't show you why I'm successful. You're not going
Hmm.
to ever get the value for your business. So that really was pivotal in my life. I was also grinding at that point, being a high income earner at that point in my career, not sleeping at night, stressed out all the time. I mean, you dream about your clients, you dream about the transactions that are going on, and it was pivotal to my awakening. So in 2004, that's really where I shifted in my life and found personal growth and development. And what I can share with you is, for those that are listening, personal growth and development is really just investing time and energy in becoming the best version of yourself. So you can create massive success with dysfunction. You can create massive success with chaos, with every day you feel like you're getting knocked down, or you can choose a different way. And that's really what I want to share, is that, when I got involved, what I didn't realize is that I wasn't present in my own life. And so what that means is my brain had hijacked my existence. And that's where most people are today, is that they're overthinkers, they're worriers, they're constantly in that state of like doing all the time and not being able to sink into that feeling of being and magnetizing themselves for more success. And so that was kind of that pivotal point for me. And that's why I love sharing with business owners all over, like, what are some of those things that you can do to create not only a successful business, but a life that you love while doing that.
That's a really good way of putting it. And I always look at it this way. It's like, it's like if you're trying to climb that pyramid of success, some people just go on the outside of the pyramid and try and climb up, and that's very exhausting. Inside the pyramid, there's like a ramp system, which you don't have to make much effort at all. It's just like
Yeah.
you walk through the corridors and you get to the top. And I think that's it. It's like you watch people like, oh my God, it's so hot out here, and I have to climb straight up the pyramid. If I fall down, I'll kill myself. As opposed to, hey, there's a ramp system inside with guardrails and everything like that. If you just want to walk in there, it's a different choice, right? And I think some people are so busy grinding it on outside that pyramid that they don't realize that inside the pyramid there's a
Yeah.
whole pathway that just is illuminated, and it's much easier. And so let's talk about the 3 things that business owners do to sabotage their business.
Yeah.
What is thing number one? And then we can move forward. I mean, we probably could have 5 or 6 podcasts
Yeah,
based on your
absolutely.
opening right now, but
Yeah.
let's start with this one right now. What's number one thing that you would
Well,
say that business owners do to sabotage their business?
absolutely. So I'm going to start with an overarching probably philosophy, and then dig into some of those more granular ways that they sabotage
Hmm.
themselves. So the first
Hmm.
thing that I would tell you is that most business owners don't start with a vision for how they want to feel in their business. And so that's mistake number one, is that they typically start with goals, right? Maybe they want a lifestyle, so they need to have a certain amount of income. If you don't start with how you want to feel, you're just going to end up with whatever circumstance you're in. So I always say, look at how you want to feel in every area of your life, because I don't believe that you need to sacrifice relationships. You don't need to sacrifice health. You don't need to sacrifice other areas of your life. So you want to start with a vision for how you want to feel, and then create actionable goals. So another mistake is not writing down your goals, not writing down some of those big things. And that's where you get in that hamster wheel of just doing without really focusing on what it is that you want to create for yourself. So number one, start with a vision for how you want to feel. Number two, really create some actionable goals. Number 3 is make sure that you then create a plan that gives your brain a direction of exactly what it needs to do. Now, this plan, this business plan, and if anybody wants access to one, happy to share the one that I coach on, is really looking at, okay, what is the vision? And then what is the strategy that I need my brain to execute on? Because what we don't realize is that our brain, if we don't tell it exactly what to do, it will do what it believes is best. It takes into consideration the past, which we need to release the past. Like the past is the past. Like for most people, they don't realize that we are in constant preservation mode. So if you think of what sabotage isn't anything intentional. It's the subconscious things that we do that eliminate the amount of success and authenticity that we can ever reach in our lifetime. And so we have to have a plan, and we need to show our brain, like, this is who we need to be in our business. And once you get those 3 things put in place, the last thing that you really need is to make a really big effort around your energy level. Energy is something that we need to start looking at different. It's not just how much I wake up with. It's I need to be creating energy all day. There's no reason why we should be wiped out at the end of the day if we're doing things that we love. So you may need to really look at your business once you look at your energy. And I always say, try to do an energy audit. Like if you love doing certain things, for you, you probably love doing podcasts, right? You're a conversational, relational guy, probably get a lot of energy from doing it. Well, that breaks up the monotony of some of the other things that you do. And so many business owners don't spend enough time doing what they love. And so then they're depleted, and we can actually start to resent our business as well. So that's kind of the foundation, I would say, before we get into this deeper conversation. Start with a vision for how you want to feel in every area of your life. Create some actionable goals. Now, I say actionable very directly because most people put outcomes as goals, and that's not going to work. It's not good enough for your brain. You need to be concise. If you want to, live your best health life ever, you need to let yourself know, like, I'm going to work out 3 times. I'm going to drink more water. I'm going to do some of these things that are really, granular. Then creating that business plan for everything that you need to execute on, and then testing your energy level. Like, how do I stay in peak performance state where I'm going to be on for my business? Because as a leader or a salesperson, success is an inside out job. If you aren't feeling fantastic on the inside, you are going to repel opportunity on the outside. So once we've got that straight, then we can really dig into, those 3 top ways that business owners and even salespeople sabotage themselves. So the first way I would say is thinking that they can do it all on their own.
Yeah.
And
So I always say that, actually one of my friends, Tommy Mello, who wrote the forward in the book, and he works at A1 Garage Door, and he's he definitely
amazing.
is he's an
Yeah.
amazing person. He said, well, how do you build a $1 billion business? And he said, write this down, Joe. He goes, ready? I go, what is it? He goes, not by yourself. It takes a
Oh,
team. You got to hit other people. And
yeah.
so that's it. But that vision is important. That because I remember when one of the times it was back in the '90s, early '90s. One of the things that saved me is I seen there's a guy named Maurice Mayo used to work in San Diego. He had a thing called Mayo Successes. He was a plumber, but he got a business very similar. He had his business from his father. It was very dysfunctional. He got a degree in business at Cal Berkeley, went back down there, fixed the business, systemized everything. And then the father took a step back and said, "Yeah, you just take this
Yeah.
thing." He started a whole system, and he brought me down there, and I saw it, and I'm like, "Oh my God!" Like once I saw that vision, then it's interesting. I like the order you're presenting these things. The
Yeah.
vision to see, man, I can see what this looks like. That's really when people come to our training or something like that.
Yeah.
They're seeing a vision of how the customer experience would look like.
Oh,
And once you
completely.
see that, you're like, okay, now what emerges is what do I got to do about this vision? How am I gonna take it from where I'm at now to this vision? And then the like when you ask people to set your goals without the vision, setting goals becomes very difficult because you're not sure where the destination you're heading to. Could you comment on that just a little bit more?
Yeah, well, what we don't realize, like one of the things that I ended up doing in my career was really digging into neuroscience and psychology and understanding how brains worked. Because of course, we know information is not the key to success. When we started in business, 25 years ago or whatever it was, we would have needed to have gone out and bought a book. We would have needed to have gone out and gone to an event. Now I can have access to you just on a podcast, or I can read, things all over the internet on anything that you've said specifically, right? Information isn't the key. It's what we don't realize is that goals are very left brain. You get dopamine and they're burst, right? That's not the long-standing emotion that we want and the hormone that we want. We want more serotonin. We want more oxytocin that are going to be coming from having a really balanced brain. So what happens is most people get into this left brain world, and we're rewarded for being productive. We're rewarded for being competent. We're rewarded for all these things. Society tells us like, hey, if you're working hard, you're great. Well, you may not feel great on the inside. And that's because you haven't really balanced it out a little bit and spent some time like actually enjoying it. Like, how often do business owners just sit there and say like, man, like I did that. Like, I hope when you looked at this amazing book that you wrote, which is awesome, and I love it, that you actually stayed there long enough to celebrate it, because it was a feat, right? You spent so much time and energy working on this, but how quickly we move from one celebration to the next without really feeling it and like really embracing that power of like enjoyment and gratitude from some of our accomplishments. So that's the reason why we need to spend more time focusing on how we want to feel, because neuroscience will show us like, yes, achievement is great, but it's going to be something that you get addicted to. And then you're never going to get to that feeling of like, hey, I did this and I can go enjoy myself for a week on the beach with my family because I'm just basking in the enjoyment of everything that I've created. A lot of business owners don't even have fun on vacation because they're worried about their office or they're worried about other things. So that's definitely what I would tell you. It is important to have actionable goals, but it's more important to really have a vision for how you want to feel in your life.
Yeah, to me, the goals are almost impossible. It's like if I want to have the way, I like the way you say the way it feels, that vision. And I remember that when I did see competent companies, my company definitely was just put together by, so very similar to what your parents probably did,
Yeah.
which is just just handling the next emergency one after the
Yeah.
other until it just became that was the business. And then when I seen a business that was run by design, where somebody had a certain vision, it came and
Yeah.
replaced it. And that's what he said his father said. He said, wow, his father was like, man, I can't believe that
Yeah.
this is so much different than what I created,
Yeah.
because he didn't really create anything. He just basically just built it from
Yeah.
one. It's like taking a pile of lumber and just say, let's just put this one here without having a blueprint or
Yeah.
a way to make sure that what are we going to put all this lumber? How are we going to arrange it the right way? But the documentation of it. So the number three part, it was the third element of that thing about. So
The
number
third
one, the
element
vision.
is the
Number two
business
is
plan. So
the
it's
business.
vision,
Write it
goals.
down and document
Yep.
this things.
Write
So
it down.
it's kind of create that blueprint or
Yep.
the way we're going to do it. And that's really what the book does represent, though. I think like we have a certain vision. We've done it together. We taught people this vision and things like
Yeah.
that. They've seen the vision, but it's like, now we got to document this thing to make sure that we're this blueprint of how an experience should go. I think something like a book is a good process to show that it's not easy to do that, but it is
It's
something that's
not.
rewarding. And once it's in place, it's a legacy of information that
Yeah.
thousands of people can experience. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at that vision, Joe, and you've made it so seamless for somebody to come in and plug and play. When you look at energy, a lot of these things aren't what you should be doing as a business owner or a salesperson. Like, we should actually go to that next step of saying, I don't have to do it on my own. There are things that I need accountability for. Like, as much as I wish, like I'm committed to health, but if my trainer doesn't show up at my house at 6 a.m., I'm not waking up. I have to get help, whether it's a business coach or a sales coach, an organization like your own that really can help with accountability. Because what we know is when we invest in ourselves, we're more likely to follow through, right? We're more likely to be able to do that. And so that whole idea of doing it on my own, I would tell you that too many people believe that it's just them, and you need to let that go. Like, you have to be vulnerable enough to ask for help. So that's another big area that people sabotage their own success, is that they don't know how to ask for help. You don't need to be an expert in all areas. Like, you can bring a consultant in, you can bring a sales team and coaching platform in to be able to help your team. Like, a lot of times we minimize the amount of revenue that we can generate because we don't ask for help.
Mhm. Well, that is some really great insight. You said you have a sort of a business plan that you have sort
Yeah,
of a thing, a guideline, a structure that's sort of
yeah,
like a outside, but you can fill in the blanks to what your
yeah,
business would be doing, and kind of creating
absolutely.
your kind
There's
of
a,
helping to
yeah,
fortify that your own vision on that. You're saying, right?
absolutely. And there's a big one in here. When you think about not doing it alone, if you look at the CEO role in most companies, especially in the trades, you have one person that's doing vision and operations simultaneously.
Mm,
That is not the area that you want to get to. Like, if you really want to elevate success, you need to have somebody do one of those two things. And you have to decide what you love to do. Like, if you
yeah,
love doing operations, do operations. If you love doing visioning, do visioning. When you're doing both, that shift between both of those worlds is very daunting. And
yeah.
it's tough to do because your vision is going to be limited by all of the operational challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis. And so you've got to be able to get to that place where you say, like, who are the key hires that I need to make in my business? Who are the who's that are going to really come in and take me to the next level? For example, the number of people that are probably doing their own finances. Now you can hire a fractional CFO. You don't need to even pay a full-time CFO. You can hire a fractional CFO to come in and take some of that load off of you. You know, if
Mm.
you don't have really strong key performance indicators in your business, you're never going to go on vacation where you can trust the people at your office to be able to run it the way that you would. Now, we know bigger companies a lot of times have these things. I don't care what size you are, like, being able to really check in on the health of your business and knowing, like, what are those top problems that I have in my business today? And how do I start to learn that if I ask for help and I go out there and I'm more resourceful, that I'm going to end up taking it to the next level?
So number one, so talk about the vision part of it there. I mean, to get a vision. I mean, I would say it's one of the, that's it's easy to say. What would you recommend that people do? I mean, I would say that if you're not sure, that's what sometimes I do introduce one business to another and say, hey, you're this kind of a company. I have another company that just started out like that. I'd like to go talk to them, maybe even go visit them to go
Yes.
see it. So sometimes I think seeing is believing in that part of it there. Like, what do you think about that? How do you get people to, to be able to see something? Because you guys deal with GoodLeap, and even with your network of, GoBundance there with successful people, and you must have seen people transform themselves from one thing to another. Probably thousands of
Absolutely.
people like that, right? So, what do you think about the? I always felt like you need to go see it or you need to go experience it yourself so you can see different visions out there and see which one appeals to you the best. How would you recommend people kind of, because that's step one. So how would you think people kind of inspire them to find that vision
Yeah.
in that part of it there, right? How would you do
Absolutely.
that?
So there's a few things that I would say. Number one, most people are always about 1 millimeter away from the biggest breakthrough that they'll ever make in their life. So the
Mm,
first thing that you have to really look at and determine is, do I have a problem? And I would tell you, you have a problem if you don't feel fantastic every day. We live in an abundant world. We live in a state of so many blessings in this country that most of us, if we really added them all up in comparison to where we could have been born, is just massive, right? I'm sure you know about Give Power, our nonprofit that we support, but there are billions of people that don't have access to clean water. I'm drinking a cup of coffee right now. I didn't
hmm
have to think about it. So that would be the first thing that I'd say is look at how you feel. How are you navigating through challenges? How are you feeling about, like, your end game, where you're going to be 10 years from now, that kind of thing. And the next thing I would say is just write down, like, what are those top problems that you have in your business? And then just start talking to people, like, start having conversations with people like yourself, Joe, or others that are going to be able to say, like, hey, yeah, that's something that I could help your business with. Or here's somebody else that I can recommend, at GoBundance. And we have both men and women side of GoBundance with over 1,000 business owners, right? It is It is a mastermind that helps build a board of directors in your life so that you don't have to feel like you do it alone. And there's all sorts of communities that are out there that can support you, whether it's entrepreneur organization or young professionals organization, GoBundance, as well. There's all sorts of communities that can support you. It's just making a decision that I'm not going to keep doing it this way because I don't feel fantastic and grateful when I wake up. That's where I believe most people get off track, is that they don't recognize that there's another way. You can be even more successful when you really get your mindset in check. And I believe all of us need some accountability for mindset.
Well, that is amazing. GoBundance sounds like a really great group of people, a network. I think that's kind of where you can find that vision. I always say, how do you find the vision? I
Yeah,
guess we can go back to Tommy Mello's words, right? Not by yourself. You have to
absolutely. And
you have to find other people to connect with, right?
yeah, and you look at what Tommy's done at his company, and I follow him on social media, and there's not a week that I don't see him investing in to the people that work there, celebrating the people that work there, prioritizing culture. And when you're in that seat of I can focus on that instead of all I'm doing is focusing on operations, it makes a big shift in your business. So what I would say is that, you just need to recognize, ask yourself a quick question. Am I in abundance? And abundance is life happens for me. Challenges are opportunities. I'm the creator of my own success. I am absolutely powerful. I can pretty much, you can hand me any challenge and I'm going to navigate it seamlessly. I'm a magnet for opportunity. That's abundance. Where scarcity is, I'm a victim. I can't believe that happened. My competition is doing this. Like I feel like everything's happening to me right now. And so you have to ask yourself which one you're in. A lot of times you can get out. You can get out on your own. Trust me, when I started in personal growth and development, I did it on my own, right? I read books, I went to events, I did all of these things. What supercharged me was then finding a network or a community of like-minded people that could hold me accountable to my mindset. So what most people do, if you called me and started complaining, Joe, I might say, oh, I can't believe they did that to you. That's terrible. What'd you do? Where somebody that's in abundance is going to say, what's good about that, Joe? Like, what opportunity is in this situation for you? I'm not going to jump in a boat and sink with you. I'm going to find a way to elevate you up to the next level. And that's where we have to make sure that we invest in, building that community. If your business isn't big enough to have a board of directors or a board of advisors, go create one. You could find other business owners. Yeah.
That's a really good advice. I think, man, I always say, unfortunately, it's a lot of information. We probably could, like I said before, we probably could have had 5 podcasts on this one. But I think I'll just talk a little bit. So what advice, how can people contact you, or what do they do now at this point, at the end of this podcast, saying, oh, it sounds like really good stuff, and how do I get started? How can people contact you or somebody you could recommend where they could take the next step here and take that first action to find that vision, to create your goals, and then to move forward on these, and then finally create that blueprint or that that game plan that you got to make that written game plan out for it, to do all those things, and also get that that board of directors you're mentioning. That's a really great idea too. That college of people that you can go to when you need some assistance or guidance and things like that. Where should they go to get this help here, Kelly, to get started?
For sure. So if you're already on the GoodLeap financing platform, you can just ask your business development rep that you already have. I can share any of the tools that I talked about, the vision, the goals, the business plan. Those are easy for us to just shoot over to you, or you can email me at kresendez@goodleap.com. I'll be happy to share them. If you're interested in really just looking at mastermind communities as well, you can check out GoBundance Women or GoBundance.com online and be able to check any of that information out too. But the greatest wisdom that I would say, and those top 3 ways, just to kind of recap, are just believing you have to do it on your own, and then not asking for help. And the third one, Joe, which I didn't get to dive into, is really not prioritizing your self-care and really who you're being, because you're nothing without your health. You're nothing without your relationships and all of those things that impacts your business too. So just trying to integrate some of that into your goals will definitely help you too.
Thank you, Kelly. It's been a pleasure to have you here, and definitely everybody go to GoBundance.com or GoBundance Women. I just looked it up,
Yeah,
and definitely came right up for us, and you can find that organization. If you
awesome.
want to get a hold of Kelly, just find your GoodReads, GoodLeap territory rep, or your person who's your business representative. He'll guide you right back to Kelly and give you the beeline right there, so she can. How's your energy at the end of this, Kelly? Is it
Oh my
more or
gosh,
less?
I'm so excited. I want to do another one, Joe. Jeez.
I can see that. I can see that. Well, thanks so much, Kelly. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
thank you so much, Joe.
My pleasure, and we'll see you on the next podcast. Have a great one,
Sounds
everybody.
great.